people who kind of ask are very much saying कि यार theater कौन देखेगा इतना कुछ है देखने को. And I always go to this one John Steinbeck quote that theater is the only institution that's been dying for 4,000 years but has never succumbed.
Because I go there
Stand up.
for a happy experience, not to say, "Acha, yeah, it's not up to my liking. I am better. That was crap." It's serving no purpose.
Gujarati theatre and Marathi theatre are the standing proofs that every single day they perform to full houses.
Yeah.
People go back to see it with their families. And it is about cultivating that nature in your audience.
Gujarati Mid-Day Dot Com is really excited that we are talking to a wonderful duo of father and son doing amazing work when it comes to theatre. I've seen some of the productions of Aquarious and I'm a big fan, I must say that. So let's talk about the F word. How frequently do you use the F word? Let's start from that.
Well, actually, I mean, particularly once you see the play, I mean, the F word is not necessarily the obvious F word that we're thinking of.
I know, but I just wanted to ask a detour. Let's take
I mean, the F word, I use it a lot. I don't know about Dad. Dad will answer for himself, but I think I use it very often.
Yeah, I think it's part of most people's vocabulary now, because it's a very precise and concise way of summing up a lot of emotion.
I agree, completely agree with you.
But yeah, so I mean, I'm on record, but off the record, yeah, I use it a fair bit. Yes,
of course, it's just an expression. It's just the phonetics.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and it's such a multi-purpose word. No? So like it can be used for anything.
I mean, Aadyam has brought some amazing stories on stage. Let's talk about this particular play. And, we have seen in last few years, a lot of films which are being told about dysfunctional families and issues. But bringing those emotions on stage, because it's extremely layered. Like, when we have stories related to families, things are very, very layered. So I want to understand from both of you, how did you work around this script?
I mean, see, honestly, the thing is, I feel like dysfunctional families have been part of content for a very, very long time.
True.
If you look at some of even the old classic international plays that have happened, and there are multiple examples, but a lot of plays have dealt with, families and the problems or the secrets that they kind of, conceal within their normal day-to-day kind of, so it's been there for a while, and of course it's all very, it's time specific. If you're looking at plays like and Dad will be able to throw light on them better, but when you're looking at stuff even like say All My Sons or Death of a Salesman, or more recently stuff like August Osage County, they're all about so family is just such a fascinating topic at the end of the day, and it is such a microcosm of the entire universe, right? I mean, the politics of a joint family can give the politics of a nation a run for the money.
Of course.
So
family story.
Exactly. That's a great point. I mean, going back to the Indian myths, they're all family stories at the end of the day. I mean, it's there's whether it's the Ramayana or the Mahabharata, it all stems from familial problems.
Yeah.
So that's been a part of content for a very long time. I think the term dysfunctional family is a fairly recent, used term. Yeah, it's used a lot, like the F word, in recent times. And I think that a lot of content has started showing that, because I think what's happened is that particularly I think since the OTT thing has come into the world, we are being able to tell a lot more intimate stories. And it's been in the West for a very long time, but even say in Hindi cinema and content, when you look at a Kapoor and Sons, or when you look at a Tripling, which I was part of the writing team of, I think that we are getting the liberty to tell more intimate stories, more interesting.
Yeah.
And in the manner of speaking, with Aadyam also, Aadyam was supporting a lot of large-scale theatre.
Yes.
I mean, in the past, we have done Dad has done The Hound of the Baskervilles, which was a large
Yeah.
production, then a very large production called Under the Gypsy Moon. Then he acted in The Kite Runner, which I produced. And there, the focus was a little bit more on the scale of the shows.
Scale up.
Uh,
The
and this is the
visuals.
first time. This is the first time that Aadyam is actually kind of doing smaller plays. So, matlab, it's almost like Aadyam OTT mein chala gaya. So now there we have the opportunity to explain them to see a more intimate story.
Yeah.
In a matter of speaking, even Kite Runner is about a family that is fairly dysfunctional.
Absolutely.
But the scenario around it is so much more. It's more about the external rather than the internal. In terms of the balance. But here we got the opportunity to do something which is very internal because the scale and the razzmatazz was not important. We could kind of do a play which is really just about a conversation between four people.
Sometimes, as an audience, we feel that, oh, it's too verbose, too many people are talking. So I want to know from you, as someone who has done so much when it comes to theater, so how to tell the story interestingly, which is very verbose. I mean, yes, there are things which will have to be told. It's not screen. You can't show the expression just like that.
So very, very interesting. So when you say something verbose, and you mentioned before Akash joined in about the faith healer, these are 40-minute monologues by three people and a repeat by me. And of course, it's still for a niche audience because there's a lot of material related to the supernatural, the surreal, and whatever. It's more theosophical and religious in that sense. But it's a great challenge. But it's a monologue. So a lot of the written word needs to be converted into truth for the best possible communication. But the onus is on that one single actor.
Personally, yeah.
So rise or fall, it's a very individual challenge. The challenge for a two-hander, a three-hander, or a four-hander, as in this case, where four people are there, and a lot of it is just very static conversation. So apart from, and for that, you need a text that is of a very high caliber.
Exactly.
It cannot be information. It is information. It's to expose the psychographics of the character, the world they come from, their situations, but have to be told. You're just talking about it, but you're also playing off other characters. So each character, in that sense, it's a jugalbandi, but twice over because there are four characters. So you're just sort of like jazz or, basically a jugalbandi, playing off each other, but not losing the truth, because if that lags, then clearly it says, "Acha, ye log kya bol rahe hain?" So for me, the two great achievements, and since we have had 4 shows, I can say this because it's not opening night now. The greatness about this exercise is the one that Akash got to fine tune a very, very evolved text. I mean, something which I mentioned when I read it and before we even started rehearsing, of the caliber of, say, Edward Albee's Virginia Woolf.
Yeah.
Which is dark, grim, but sometimes not accessible because they are talking to a very literate society, a literature-friendly society. Albee wrote plays like that. I mean, all through the Depression, the writers were communicating to a different kind of audience. Now, how do you communicate to a lower denominator? Not necessarily, I'm not sort of condescending, but I'm saying it's just the situation of a collective mass who's a youth, who's maybe not so exposed to the written word, and this kind of arena which dwells on intimate, internal, private, psychological truths. And the second, of course, was that done well, it can be an actor's dream. Because if you can even attain, I would say, even 50% of the intended message of the text, which is, as I said, extremely evolved and brilliant, then you would have served a purpose and set a bar for yourselves, not necessarily for the world around, because to each her own or his own.
Yeah.
So for me, it becomes special as a theatrical presentation and an experience. So for me, and it's there are truths that are very well known. You look inside your homes, somewhere there'll be an echo of it, and you're actually now putting it out in the universe. So you're part actor, part yourself, part your own experience of life, even observation of other people that you're actually presenting. So it becomes an extremely special kind of product or production.
Say something about your association with Aadyam and how do you see theater has changed over the period of time? With so much content everywhere and the distances and the traffic in our amazing city, do you feel that the audience? I mean, even teleplays are a thing now. I mean, they were always there, but now there are platforms for that too. How do you see the theater scene has changed?
Yeah, I've been part of 4 or 5 seasons of the 6 or 7 seasons of Aadyam so far. We were part of the first season, which I directed. That was a comedy. So there was a mandate that, they chose different genres and chose the scripts according to what was available. And so that was a spoofy kind of comedy on the classic Arthur Conan Doyle's Sherlock Holmes. And then, of course, the other season, I adapted the 4 volumes of Sharat Chandra's novel, Srikanto, into an 80-minute balladic thing with baul music and everything, and visually sort of, because one is sometimes pressurized to present a canvas, as Akash said, the night runner of this. So it was great because I could never imagine the facility being available as an independent production house, a theatre company. We did a big place. I mean, I did one, was called All About My Mother, which was very hard on the budget, and it didn't run for long for various reasons. But it's not that we were not capable of delivering, but the opportunity, it was just so intimidating, to mount a production like that. So it swings both ways, that one, you get the opportunity, but also you're pressurized to present a magnum opus.
Yeah.
But it was a good foray. But coming from my sensibility and Akarsh's sensibility, it was not just razzmatazz. There was a soul also to all the productions that we did. There was a story, societal problems to be explored or whatever, and the dynamics of human behavior. So typically it didn't go into superficial territory. But we got the opportunity to swing both ways. And this is the icing on the cake, because now we are doing it our way by choice. I mean, we were given a choice for a larger production. Akash chose to do an intermediate production because we were busy otherwise, and all we wanted to deliver. And it was an experience that had been done. So 3 or 4 huge productions we've done, and more of the same. But here, that is the first original text that we have done for Aadyam. And then Akash took it upon himself to write and direct it himself, which means it became even more personalized for the company. So Aadyam is evolved that way. Clearly, since you mentioned the languages, to their credit, they've done English, Hindi, Gujarati as well. Probably a Marathi somewhere, I think. I forget the name. But these 3 definitely. So it's a coverage. It hits multiple cities, across genres, the best of the best, the creme of the theatre world. There's a serious kind of screening process and discussion, creative inputs, there are creative directors. So it's serious business, and it suddenly just elevated everything, and it became so the COVID times suddenly became a break. But prior to that, it was just a very big shot in the arm, and talking about the evolution and the relevance and the feasibility of theatre. I mean, why would Aadyam even consider within their entire sort of gamut of activities, the Aditya Birla Group, to even do theatre? So probably it has a place of significance and sort of esteem in the mind of people who matter and who can actually help the whole. And it's all about, performing arts is a huge contributor to the growth of a society. CSR is a corporate social responsibility, and they're delivering it through the arts, which is wonderful.
First, to start with the micro, which is in terms of Aadyam. I think that of course whatever Dad has said is correct, and the mounting and the the support that you're getting. You're basically, I mean, I think the one thing that Indian theatre sorely lacks is patronage, and I think that with Aadyam coming in, Aadyam is kind of doing that in a certain manner where they're kind of supporting you and supporting your vision. For the most part, I also feel that what happened is that because of the positioning and the budget that was available to something like an Aadyam, for the first time we were seeing things like hoardings and full page ads in the newspaper. I remember when Dad did Hound of the Baskervilles, I was in the audience for the first show, and one of my wife's friends was actually sitting in the audience, and she's never come for a play of ours. And she saw me and said, "What are you doing here?" And I said, "I'm actually the producer of this play." And she had actually come there not knowing I was involved, but because she had seen this play on the hoardings. And somebody had told her that, it suddenly elevated the positioning. It became like event theater. Like it was like, oh, okay, this is something big happening. And the Indian public also tends to be a little bit more gullible when you're kind of, slapping them in the face with it. It's like a little bit of, अरे hoarding लग गए तो मतलब अच्छा होगा. So there's that little bit of, अरे यार मतलब बहुत publicity हो रही है, मतलब यार देखने लायक होगा. And that was amazing because see, when Disney is doing Beauty and the Beast and Aladdin, of course you're coming from all over the city to watch it. But this is the Hound of the Baskervilles. Most of them have probably not heard of Arthur Conan Doyle, but they're seeing these hoardings and saying, "Yaar, ye kuch interesting comedy lag rahi hai." So I think what happened is that it took the content out there. It put it out there for more awareness, and some of that translated. I'm assuming that over the 6 seasons of Aadyam, they're also having trouble dealing with that translation because it doesn't always uphold like that. And they're also trying new content, and they're also pushing the envelope a little bit. But it's such an interesting kind of learning process, right? That you can actually do a serious play like Kite Runner and fill up 1,000-seater halls, and not all of the people who came were aware of the book or had read the book. A lot of people just came because they were like, okay, this looks like something important is happening and we should go and look at it. So I think that kind of positioning has really helped. And in terms of the evolution of theater in general, I mean, I get asked this question a lot because, like what you were also saying, there's so much content out there, cine plays and OTT, and there's too much to watch, and there's cinema halls and their theaters, and how does somebody choose? And yeah, always you're one of the nicer people, but a lot of the people who kind of ask are very much saying, "कि यार theater कौन देखेगा इतना कुछ है देखने को." And I always go to this one John Steinbeck quote that theater is the only institution that's been dying for 4,000 years, but has never succumbed. It will not, because वो बोल रहे हैं कि हाँ अरे how will theater last? They've been asking this question for 4,000 years. But it will exist because there will be an audience. If you put it up, the people will come. If you build it, they will come. People want to. The live performance is a magical experience. Gujarati theatre and Marathi theatre are the standing proofs that every single day they perform to full houses.
Yeah.
People go back to see it with their families. And it is about cultivating that nature in your audience. I was talking very recently to somebody, and Dad and I talk about this often, but in Marathi and Gujarati families on a Saturday, they will dress up and they will go to the theatre because they were brought up to do that.
Yeah.
It was an outing, it was a thing. And thank God for that. And they are so fortunate that they have that in a part of their culture. And Hindi and English theatre does not necessarily have it as much, but we are working towards it. We are making it more accessible. Every new group is trying to kind of bring more people into the theatre. And I think one of the great evolutions that has happened, particularly in Bombay, because our worldview is limited to that, is that in the last 20 years, for various reasons, there was this impression that theatre is this highbrow elitist thing. That has gone away. That has gone away. The youth is coming to the theatre. People think कि यहाँ भी enjoy कर सकते हैं. ये नहीं है कि यहाँ जाकर हमारा exam देना पड़े. So people have understood that, and for me that's been a huge development. That young people can actually say कि आज रात यार film देखने जाएं या play देखने. और ये बहुत बड़ी बात है कि ये एक choice बन गया है. And it's not कि यार that whole concept ना कि intelligent लोग जो झोला पकड़ के बैठे होंगे और सिर्फ क्रांति लाने के लिए theater कर रहे हैं, that's gone. So for me, that's a great evolution, that it's become accessible, and you should see in places like Bombay and Bangalore and Delhi and Bombay now, according to me, is the theatre capital of the country. NSD Delhi में जरूर है, but the theatre capital, I believe, is Bombay purely for the amount of theatre that's happening in it. And Bangalore would be a second. And Dad and I have just been to Bangalore. And you should see the crowds that are coming in. They're wonderful, working people, who are smart, intelligent people coming over there for a night out, going for a drink after that, uh, which is such a beautiful evolution to see, that it is becoming something that is so much more accessible.
So, while you were answering this, I remembered that I think it was in Malvika Agnimitram, there is this Sanskrit shlok which basically says that Natya is a form of art which is devon ke manoranjan ke liye jo banaya gaya hai.
Natya Shastra dekho,
of course, the fifth Veda.
As important as,
any other Veda.
Like the Vedas. It's like a document where you talk about Navrasa, you're talking about 9 strong emotions, and across the board, they're expressing 9 emotions that represent human behavior.
Of course.
So, this is Bible bolo, kuch bhi bolo, but Granth to hai, Natya Shastra hai.
Of course. We have talked about your play, we have talked about Aadyam. What kind of theatre do you like to watch?
No, I will actually refrain from answering this for the simple reason. Because of 2 reasons. One, I'm extremely fussy about my choices and I have a very high threshold. But the other side is, there is nothing I don't like.
Okay. So you're very kind to anyone.
Because I go there for a happy experience. Not to say, acha, yeah, it's not up to my liking, I am better, that was crap. It's serving no purpose. I wasted or spent my time and I'm going through the experience, and as much learning or enjoyment I can get from it, I do. On the other hand, if you want me to put my analytical cap, there's not much I can identify and say, ki boss, ye special hai. And then why single out one artist or company? And we're all part of the same family. One sibling might be more intelligent than the other, but they're still siblings.
I very consciously try to watch all kinds of theatre. I think it's very important for me personally, because it's I feel like theatre also kind of, you have to experience everything to kind of understand who you really are. And in that sense, like for me we've now done 78 productions. And we've done across genres. We've done all kinds of theatre.
Yeah.
And I suppose it takes you, like, it's taken us whatever, it's 23 years now, Akvarious has been around. And I think we're still kind of finding our voice. And it's very interesting that our voice is changing along with the times. So I definitely try and watch everything that I can kind of get my hands on. There are, of course, like for example, like I might see a wonderful play which is more in the, abstract or absurd theatre space. It's not something that I think I am capable of doing myself. I feel like I am a storyteller. I like telling stories that have a proper narrative, beginning, middle, and end. As such, I kind of like watching plays that kind of give me that sense of closure. I like watching plays that have a little bit of. I'm not looking for messages in the play, but I want it to kind of affect me in some manner. Like I want to either have a really good time, I want to feel much better after I watch it, or I want to feel like I'm thinking about something. So again, it's very difficult to single it out. Sometimes and again, like Dad said, where I will do Control C, Control V is that I actually go to like it, because I also know the kind of effort that goes into it. I never, the thing is, even I've made a couple of films now and a couple of series, but I never watch something as a filmmaker. My first time, I always watch it as an audience. Because it's too much of an effort. You're stressing yourself too much out if you're kind of thinking ke craft ke bare mein sochte hain. You're going there to watch it as an audience. That is the person that the creator has made it for. As an audience, you have to try and enjoy it without trying to nitpick on the. And there will always be something that you can take away from it. It might be a terrible text, but there'll be a wonderful actor. Or it'll be very mediocre actors, but overall there'll be something interesting about it. The music will be great. There's always something to learn, I think, from that experience. And I try as much to be very open and open to receive, because I think inspiration can come from anywhere. So I think it's very important to kind of go over there and say, okay, something made me feel good about it. What was it, and when can I do that?
It was lovely, and I loved talking to both of you. And I hope, Akash sir, I can meet you in person. Of course, I've seen you performing on stage.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.